We're here at Blush Beach Bar, Beach Club. How do you say this?
Blush Beach.
Blush Beach.
Blush Beach.
So we're here at Blush Beach and about to start our interview with James. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this second podcast that I'm recording.
How many podcasts have you done?
This is the second one I'm recording.
So, but you keep saying it's the second one you're recording.
Oh,
so
well,
have you done podcasts
that
and
I didn't
not
record?
Is that just a conversation?
No,
right?
in a way.
A podcast that you don't record or broadcast is just talking to somebody.
No, I've got thousands of podcasts I never recorded, and always filled with regret. You know, you could be at dinner or at a bar and you're having a great conversation. You know, you're like, oh, I wish I was recording this, but I don't have any recording device with me. So,
Okay, yeah, sure.
the light is failing us, so we'll do our best here. Yeah, this is Blush Beach,
Boom shakalaka.
and with me today is James Seebacher, who
Hi.
actually I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
You're good at telling that story.
I've known you longer than I've known anyone in Vietnam. Thomas and I went to high school together in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. And you're 2 years older than me?
I guess
Three?
I'm 3 years older than my sister.
Yeah. So his sister and I were in the same class, and we did theater together. Right. And then Jessica went on to actually be an act. Well, Jessica actually left high school to be an actress then. Like, she didn't even like she was already living the dream, and it was like slumming when she got to come back and do high school theater with us.
Your background is hospitality management.
I guess so.
I mean, is that what you studied in university?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what brought you out to Vietnam in a way, isn't it?
I mean, I found a job on Craigslist is what brought me to Vietnam. But I think the decision was kind of about trying to make yourself like the biggest fish in the smallest pond that you could. Like when I lived in Vegas, I was like guppy, right? In a sea of sharks. It's one of the biggest hospitality markets in the world. And then, coming to Vietnam, it's like, and this was 10 years ago, and you're like, you're the Vegas guy. It's like, yeah, I am the Vegas guy. And it's easy to build a brand around that.
When I first moved here, you were already working at one of the most storied nightclubs in Saigon, Lush.
Yeah, Lush Saigon.
And we met many times there. And then at one point you told me that you were getting a little bored of Saigon, looking for a new challenge. And not that long after that, I started hearing stuff about
Building
Blush
a beach club, yeah.
And I don't think it was necessarily even branded as Blush at the time.
It was never supposed to be Blush, Blush came from Beach Lush.
I assumed so.
Completely like uninspired, uncreative name. But the more we used it, the more it just kind of fit. And naming stuff's actually kind of hard. I don't know what else to call it. If you look at like other great beach like Potato Head or Coup d'etat, which are just like nonsense sounding words. Blush was just as good as any other. And I always kind of thought if the product's really, really good, it doesn't really matter what you call it. Like Google is an example. Like Google's a stupid name for something.
I mean, I like that there is that connection to the history within the name itself.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And
it doesn't really, yeah.
And it's not like inappropriate.
It's like a throwback without like relying on anything, right?
Right. And I would guess that a lot of people who come here wouldn't know the connection, but it's just like a nice name anyways.
It just the branding came out really good, right? We were in the process of trying to come up with other names, and then the guy who was ultimately the architect and was big partner here, he kind of started sending some branding around with the Blush name, and it looked like really good. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's I'm cool with Blush. Like, let's Blush Beach. I added the beach.
Okay.
Right? Like, I dropped the off the Facebook, right? Like, I added the beach. Because I thought, it's a beach. And I thought sort of not many people get to name a beach.
Right.
Right? Like,
now, does this beach have a name? I mean, the whole stretch of land here?
this is like, I don't know, maybe like Dien Dien Ban Beach, maybe? Dien Nhop. I'm probably not saying that right. Dien Nhop Beach, maybe? Dinh Yung Beach? These are just the little villages here. We're in Dinh Nhop, Dinh Yung Commune, Dien Ban Town, Quang Nam, Vietnam. Well, Hoi An, Quang Nam, Vietnam.
Not Danang.
We don't have any. We didn't even have a number. We just think it's a beach. So, Blush Beach, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that challenging in terms of getting people the address to come here?
my Amazon Prime doesn't work. It's without a number. No. I think like the kind of person that sort of ends up here that isn't coming here intentionally, they are sort of a wanderer anyway. So I don't think it's necessarily challenging. It's like you can take a grab. Like it's you just type in like we're on Google Maps, even though we're.
Well, that's how we got here.
Yeah.
Actually, we saw it on the road going to Hoi An from Danang. But I kind of already knew it was about halfway.
Yeah.
So
I
was kind of keeping my eyes open at that point.
It's a good spot.
Halfway between the central Vietnam commercial town of Danang and the tourist mecca of Hoi An.
UNESCO World Heritage Site, Hoi An, ancient town. Bridges and
they
lanterns.
have a nice tagline there, too. You know, you added the beach. Someone out there added the ancient town.
Yeah. It is pretty ancient, though. It's like 800 years old or something, I think, right?
I was saying that if I
How
lived
old is ancient?
more than 3 years,
Oh, well, that's...
I feel ancient sometimes.
Then we are by definition ancient then, you know?
I was guessing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not speaking from any kind of authority, but I was kind of guessing that if I was to live in Vietnam before the French came, that
Okay.
maybe Hoi An would have been the place to go.
Maybe. Hanoi probably, I think, also would have been probably pretty cool back then. That's like a 1,000-year-old city, and it's been a big shipping port at some point in time,
Okay.
I think, right? I guess. I mean, I don't know that much about 19th century Vietnam.
Tell me if you can. How would you contrast life in Columbus, Ohio, Las Vegas, Ho Chi Minh City, and now Danang, the greater Danang area?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's an evolution or like a de-evolution, right? Like, and I don't know towards which slant really it would be either. I guess like Columbus, Ohio, like nice place to like grow up. I'm not necessarily interested in spending the younger parts of my life there. Las Vegas, go Rebels. Much love Vegas, but I wanted to kind of be more entrepreneurial, and I wanted to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I thought that was a good way to like step up quickly. So I don't know, coming to Vietnam, and 10 years ago, you know, you're the Vegas guy. I stepped into the role of sort of running one of the most, I don't know, iconic, storied, you know, nightclubs in the whole country, and not of, you know, of just Southeast Asia. Like, so that kind of lent itself to sort of an ease to building a brand. But after a certain point, I mean, I moved to Vietnam when I was 27. After a certain point, you know, kind of settle down. You have a partner now. You don't really want to be out till like 4 a.m. pounding bottles 5 days a week. Like, you can't physically sustain that lifestyle forever. It's like not super bad for you. And so like this, I mean, I can hang out by the beach for the next 40 years, conceivably, right? If I wanted to. So this is definitely, I think, like much more a representation of like where I am at this point in my life than, you know, well, I guess Blush was kind of Lush was a representation of where I was when I was 27 too. So like in that regard, I didn't maybe contrast all those places, but I commented about each one.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can look at the idea of working at a beach resort and thinking, wow, that's got to be the life. However, the restaurant owner that I talked to in Hoi An last night was like saying that Hoi An is not the place to be. It's a good place for business, but to go grocery shopping, to go to the movies, to do any of those things, he has to go to Danang.
Yeah, I would never. I'm like a modern person, right? Like I like online delivery. I like being able to go to the convenience of big box shops. And Hoi An is a tourist destination. It is like living in a Disney village, right? But like an ancient Vietnamese Chinese shipping Disney village thing. So everything's little cafes, little restaurants, lots of tourists. But yeah, there's no mall, right? There's not like...
A mall would ruin it too, though.
You'd have to just build a mall away from it, right? There's nothing this side, right? So if you want to go, to the movies, you have to go to Danang. And so I live in Danang, right? I wouldn't choose to live probably in Hoi An or like An Bang, the beach.
Am I saying Danang too hard? Am I mispronouncing that?
I don't know. I don't.
Because you were saying it Danang.
Danang, Danang. I'm not sure. It's 2 words.
Yeah. That's the challenging part as a foreigner trying to speak Vietnamese is you're never 100% sure that you're saying it the right way.
Nobody ever takes the time to learn the tones. Right? We all say that like, oh, it's so hard. And it's like, there's only really 6 tones, 5 tones, 6 tones to learn. And then like, I don't know about you, but I like after 10 years, I have a good vocabulary. I just don't say anything correctly. Right? Because I mess up some slight tonality somewhere. I felt like if I went and studied it, I think I could like polish my Vietnamese up. Because right now it's like a rough turd, right? I mean, I could polish that turd up and get a decent shine off of it, I think. And like I could probably do okay. Jennifer, she studied for like 8 months. So she came in with a basis of knowing the tones and then learned everything on top of it and is like almost fluent.
I had studied it formally, like in a classroom.
Oh, really?
And learned the tones as well as you can.
Sure.
But then the challenge was like you'd learn some new vocabulary word, you go out and you try to use it. Even something really simple like asking for the bill.
Yeah.
Which may or may not sound like Tintin. I mean, and you'd go out and try to practice that thing you learned. And then like have the waiter scratching their head and not knowing at all what you're saying.
Just accompany it with the hand motion, the international sign for check bill.
You can do that without saying anything, and people will get the idea.
Sure.
But if you're just trying to practice the things you had learned in class, like there's not a lot of positive reinforcement, not a lot of positive feedback in people saying, "Hey, I know what you're trying to say. Here's a small correction," and
everyone just laughs at you immediately or completely has zero interest in trying to speak with you further in Vietnamese. I know a very small amount of Westerners that were able to come here and successfully learn to speak Vietnamese. Yeah. And I feel like those are people that were like naturally talented with like music or some sort of tonality. I've heard that the best way to learn the language is to sing songs in it.
Oh.
This is what I've been told. If you want to learn to speak Vietnamese fluently, like sing the music, do the karaoke bit, and that helps tremendously because there's a sing-songy nature to the language.
I was told yesterday that an annoying thing that modern Vietnamese pop singers do is they mispronounce words on purpose. And it maybe in the context of that coming up was I was complaining how most English female pop musicians add this kind of break in their voice whenever they sing anything to try to sound sexy, I guess.
Yeah.
This kind of Britney Spears. Like,
yeah. You were talking about this yesterday. Sure.
Sound, right?
Yeah.
And it was in that context that this came up, that Vietnamese female vocalists are very mispronouncing words
really, like
intentionally.
Not speaking correctly, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would assume the people that learned it by singing it were using more classic songs that are probably pronounced correctly, not modern pop.
I came here yesterday for my first time and had brunch here, and I was really impressed. Like I know I've seen photos of the construction site way back when, and I saw some videos online of your opening party. I have a few friends that were there, so I saw some reposts or whatever. And it didn't do it justice, Like, I guess I could say the end result is, other than the greenery not fully growing in yet, is pretty spot on with the architectural renders, but still like quite more impressive than my imagination led me when seeing the renders or seeing the work site or any of that in the past, or seeing even photos of it online. I just want to just quickly compliment you on how clean the beach is, how much
Thank you.
how much beach there is, and just the overall thoughtfulness of the layout. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, a lot of that genius is owed to Stephen Bateman, who, from Mia Design, who's our architect. But we went around Southeast Asia and looked at other beach club designs and layouts, and the beauty of this area is all him. The way it's laid out, and I like to say some of the functionality of the building that maybe you don't see as a customer, but the guts downstairs, like that was like, as an operator, that was like my contributions, and I'm pretty proud of how the place came out. Like, it was a very challenging development project to go from woods to what is here now. And the last couple weeks of it too, really kind of like, it all kind of came together at that last moment. I was like, wow, this looks really good. Like, this came out really, really nice.
Yeah, the last 20% on any project.
Sure. Because that's all the touches, right? This was like the last 10%. Because even if you look over there right now and I take out all the cushions, it feels like this big concrete space, and it's very cold. But if you throw the cushions back in, and that's something we can do in 10 minutes, it really changes the whole thing. And I think that's some of the brilliance of Steven's design. And I can't wait for the landscaping to grow, and it's going to look great.
Oh, yeah.
But
is there like an estimate on how long that's going to take?
A year or two. Right, that's just, palm trees, when you move them around, they get kind of like skittish, and you replant them and they'll be okay in some time. How
do you keep a place like this looking fresh? Because it looks great now, but it's just opened, so.
Yeah. Maintenance, just like, I'm a exacting taskmaster at times, I walk around, I point a lot of stuff, just gotta stay on this, and I wonder if anyone hates me just yet. I think we're still new enough that everyone's like, boss is still fun. It's like, nope, fix that. Why is there cobwebs? So, a place like this, especially being open air and, this close to the ocean, like, you have to just sort of be on top of the maintenance and the cleaning, right? And good cleaning leads to less maintenance. So,
does good cleaning help things like rust or not?
Yeah. Sure, because you get like salt air that builds up over time. So if you actually come over this and give it a wipe down every so often and then dry it off and clean it, right? That salinity doesn't build up on the metal as fast, right? Being this close to the ocean, eventually everything's going to have effects either from being directly in the sun or being in the salt environment. All you can kind of do is do your best to delay the inevitable, I guess.
For our viewers out there who might be interested in managing a nightclub,
sure,
managing a beach bar,
yeah,
or throwing events,
okay,
what are like your top 3 keys to success? Do you have a philosophy of?
Yeah, I do. It's like, give people what they want.
Okay.
It's the stupidest thing in the world, right? But I was successful in everything I've ever done because it's like, what is the quintessential bottled nature of this experience, right? Do we want to make a beach club a la these places and this experience? I want to sell that to these people that come here, right? And so if you have a clear purpose of mind, right? Like in college, I was president of my fraternity. This is a cheesy story, but, when I got there, we were this sort of mid-tier group. And the thing we did to become the top was to give people what they wanted. And what these kids wanted was the quintessential college experience. These kids went away to school, and they went to like a commuter school in Las Vegas, and it's sort of weird, and like there's not any campus life, and so we just made that experience, and Lush was, put Skrillex in a tiny room and make that crazy cool Detroit hot awesome experience, and then sell that to people, and this is, give people what they want, and then charge them for it, right? This, I think there's a little bit of convincing people that they want it, but nobody that's come here thus far has every single review we've had that wasn't fake has been like 5-star. Like it's like there's not really many experience. There's no experience like this in Vietnam for sure. Right? You'd have to go to another country to find anything like this. That's all entertainment. That doesn't involve you wandering through a resort. And I hate answering that question of like, well, what's your room number? And it's like, I feel like a pariah. I'm like, I'm an outside guest.
So a little bit of a background on that. I'll try to give one. Is if you're in Vietnam and you want to go to a beach, you want to enjoy a swimming pool. A lot of Vietnam is either very, very rustic nature.
Yeah, things are either nice and very expensive or very budgety, kind of like down markety.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, but that's true.
It's the truth of the matter, right? There's not a lot of like mid tier,
right?
And that's
so if you want to have like a very private, like something like Six Senses.
Yeah, sure. If you want to spend $800 a night, there's definitely something for that.
A lot of nice things at your that you have access to.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to spend anything, if you want to go to like a public beach,
the options are limited. I mean, you're sitting on like a palapa, and some lady selling you some beers out of a bucket, and
there's plastic bags.
Yeah,
well,
no one's really maintaining that beach or that water, right?
So to have a clean beach that's not chaotically busy, without trash, without like a...
Sure. But I mean, that's all clean too. I mean, the beach was not clean when we got here. It wasn't clean when we finished building it. We clean it pretty regularly. Yeah. You know, we have to stay on top of it. It's not... When storms come, a lot of trash rolls up, and that's just...
Just have to go out there and pick it up. Yeah. But it really shows. It makes a difference.
Sure. You have to do it, right? We're a beach place.
The cool thing about this place is, from what I've been able to ascertain so far, is...
Everything.
Well, we found a nice room somewhere, but it doesn't have a swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's not on the ocean.
Yeah.
Right? It's a nice room.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just a room.
But that's part of the thing, is that like not every person who's not staying in a 5-star hotel is like a broke-ass backpacker. And so I feel like right now, especially in central Vietnam, those are the two extremes. You're either staying at the Four Seasons for $1,000 a night, or you're staying in some hostel for $6 a night. And I feel like, there's not a lot of in between. And so like for someone like yourself, like I feel like this place serves that market niche of, I don't want to spend $300 a night on my hotel room, but I still want to go out and have like a nice day by the beach, have lunch, lay by the pool, like have a little, it's not even a party. It's like a relaxed, chill atmosphere, I feel like, most of the time. And then we do have parties, but
yeah. So I guess what you essentially finished my thought, which was this ends up becoming like a perfect solution.
Yeah.
Where I can find a clean room to stay in.
Sure.
But I don't have to worry about it having all the amenities, because I know that I've got this outlet. Like I can come here and chill out. If I want to sit on the beach, I can sit on the beach. If I want to go swimming, I can go swimming.
I mean, that's the idea.
Craft beer, cappuccinos.
Food's good.
So
right. So we're just. But I think that's it's like a neat lifestyle niche to be in. Like I'm selling you the 5-star part of a 5-star hotel, minus the room.
Do you guys have any plans to add rooms?
Maybe. We have more land. I would like to focus on I would like to do like a big fitness center or a gym, or maybe training facilities.
Oh.
Something like that I would think would be really cool. There's so much hotel development in central Vietnam right now that adding another 40 rooms, even if they're super cool Blush Beach branded rooms, meh.
Right.
Meh. Like why? If we have this model and it works and it's cool, and part of the reason it's cool is because it's not part of a hotel. It's like its own thing, right? And you don't feel weird at any point here for not having a room key. Then yeah, why add that, right? If we can figure out a good way to monetize the other land that we have, or do events space, convention space. I think a gym, like lifestyle training facility, some retail. I think all of that I would be more interested in doing than like another hotel. Like it's like sand to the beach, literally. And there's 5,000 hotel rooms under development within a mile that way. So
yesterday when we were playing on the beach, I looked over to the next property, and I didn't see any physical barrier between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But that place was jam-packed. And I was wondering, like, why don't these people just spill over to this untouched beach?
Well, there's a public beach down there on the other side of the hotel. There's a hotel to our south, right? It's our south. North. That's our north. The hotel to our north. And on the other side of the hotel, there's a public beach. So there's lots of people down on the public beach, especially on the weekends. But during very certain hours. The Vietnamese, they come out in the late afternoon. Right? They're not a layout all day kind of people.
Gotta avoid the sun.
Sure, generally speaking.
What do you think would be fun for us to talk about for our audience in the next 5 to 10 minutes before we wrap this up?
Wow. Who's your audience?
That's a great question.
I knew nothing about your podcast game, so
I've watched a few people talk about advice about starting a podcast, and they say things like you should have a clearly defined niche. You should kind of know what you're going to be talking about.
So what is our niche? Is this like design or expats or Vietnam?
No,
I guess mostly
yeah,
we're talking about like this beach club for the last like 20 minutes.
Right.
It's not a bad topic. It's awesome. Come to Blush Beach.
It is an awesome beach club.
Shameless plug.
I'm a big fan of the Joe Rogan Experience.
Sure.
Which
he wanders.
He has a lot of various topics. So I kind of would like to do that. But as you knew, actually, probably most of the people out there don't know. I used to do an event series in Saigon.
Saigon, right?
Yeah.
You did one at Lush.
That's right. I did many at Lush. I did at least 3.
Yeah.
3 of the 5 that I ever did, I did at Lush.
Oh, it's like 3 first compromise, my friend.
And it was kind of modeled after TED Talks.
Yeah.
And the idea was, it's called Design Exchange. I even named my company DX Saigon as like the D and the X is Design Exchange. And the idea there was that I, as a game designer, I felt I couldn't learn a lot more about game design from listening to other game designers at that point. But that if
you need to look outside that specialty.
Yeah, if I talked to an architect, if I talked to an animator, if I talked to a graphic designer, they would have design lessons that they could impart that would make me a better game designer.
Okay, I can. You know, when I moved out here, it was my first time being like a GM, a general manager, if anything, and I want to be the best manager possible. But then when I moved up here with this, it wasn't really about being a manager anymore. It was just being about like an effective leader, right? So I understand what you mean of like taking ideas from outside your focus or speciality and trying to apply them then to, you know, your thing.
Yeah. What's your leadership style?
Very lead by the front, right? I mean, there's really only like one way to objectively assess leadership, right? And that's effective or not, right? There's not, you're a good leader, you're not a good leader. And this is sort of a flip of the coin. I don't know. Here you have such a dichotomy between like a Western leadership style and maybe like that of an Asian leadership style. Whereas I think it's very important for them to see me doing work, right? Like, and like hard work. Like I'll do shitty things, right? Like I'll take the trash out. Like I'll help clean dishes. I'll mow the lawn. You know, like I don't mind those things. Like I'm a physical person. I'm like full frontal management, right? Is the idea. You know, and I think that's more inspiring than maybe somebody who just, you know, but it's less scalable, right? If you were running a company of, you know, 100,000 people, you couldn't physically let all of them see you doing things all the time. Right?
Yeah, you could do things, but only 10 people would probably see you doing those things.
I mean, being a CEO is, I think, to some degree different, but the same, I'm not sure. Never been a CEO. I think I'd be a good one.
I think so.
Yeah.
In this project, this current project, what are we looking at in terms of like investment? What is there like
how much did this cost?
Yeah. Like how many people got involved in terms of investors and like
there's a lot of investors.
The ballpark kind of figures to do something like this.
Trying to think of like a good way to.
Of course, you don't have to disclose any kind of confidential information.
There's 25 investors in this project. So, and most of the investors here are long-term expats that see the value in both the real estate aspect and maybe the entertainment bit of it, but no one has really invested in an amount of money that like everybody it's like there's risk in it, but it's not. No one's looking for it to pay back. No one's trying to put their kids through college for it in a year or two.
Since you guys don't own the land, then the way that the investors would make money back is on paying out dividends?
Sure, but we also own the deed on the land. So we prepaid the land lease. So we own the land lease paid for the next 50 years that we could transfer as an asset. And already we've made a good return on what the resale value of the land would be by holding it.
Because it has increased in value.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, a land will increase, especially beachfront in a growing tourist community. It's a good sized parcel. It's almost 2 hectares. So,
how big is a hectare versus like an acre?
It's about 2 acres.
Okay,
it's about 2 acres. 1 hectare is about 2 acres. So this is 3.5 acres.
I don't want to make anybody nervous, like any investors nervous, right? But at some point, you'll probably want to go do something else.
Sure.
So, like, what kind of do you see your next steps, and at what point, where do you want to see this thing grow before you leave?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely want it to be the best beach club in Vietnam, but I don't think, not to be like pompous, but I don't think that'll take that long, right? Like, we've built something that on the first day it opened had a good claim to saying, this is the best beach club in Vietnam, because there's just not a lot of competition, right?
Yeah. Can I show B-roll from your opening day ceremony?
Absolutely. Yeah,
at this point?
Yeah, sure. So I think that I want to build something iconic, right? Like Lush, even though I was part of it, wasn't like mine, right? Like I left my mark on it, but I didn't build it, right? And I want to like build something that stands, and like I want people to come to Blush as the thunder rolls in, for the next 47.5 years. Or we sell it all to Chinese and make a butt ton of money. I don't know. Like, we'll see. Right?
Well, I guess that's a possibility, right?
Sure. I mean, exiting any business, if you want to be an investor, an entrepreneur, it always needs to be an option, right? Especially if you can make a good profit.
I've seen a lot of also storied businesses in Saigon, things like Luzine.
Sure.
Get purchased by so-called foreign investment groups looking to get in on the rising tide of Vietnam, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, this is and the way the back end is done on it with the ownership and offshores, and this is a nice bespoke investment for you, Mr. Singapore billionaire guy. You want your beach club in Vietnam? I know you do. Direct
you
flights.
got a turnkey solution here. It's already set up.
Yeah, man. $11 million. This all could be yours.
My general feeling when there's something I like and it ends up getting bought out by a bigger,
is it's gonna decline.
Yeah, it feels like it loses something that made it special in the first place.
Well, I think any place that you support as like a plucky entrepreneur, when they sell out to the man, they lose that plucky entrepreneurship like immediately, right? So this place I don't think is particularly like plucky entrepreneur either, though. There's like a lot of like proper long-term investors and stuff. Like this is it's a well-done business.
Please explain the music selection that you guys have so far been trying here and why you're doing that instead of very, very commercial stuff.
Have you enjoyed the music here thus far?
I have enjoyed it thus far. It's mostly like house.
It's like house, beach house, tropical house, future tech. I don't know what they call this. Like, it's like an H&M, right? Like,
Do they play this kind of music in H&M?
Yeah, this is like or a Zara. Like, this is like the same kind of like. I don't know. Like when we have parties and we kind of turn up the music, the styles get a little bit more defined and eclectic. I think just for sort of daily use, like we want something that's nice, got a good beat, but it's like also non-intrusive and played in appropriate volume is, believe it or not, actually like very important, but something that I see businesses struggle with here a lot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be that loud.
It's right. Now,
I smell that rain coming. Smell all the sulfur in the air all of a sudden, right?
Did you get any hearing damage from working in a nightclub as long as you did?
Lush wasn't that loud, comparatively speaking, to everything else in Saigon. The drinking and the smoking for 5 years probably had a greater negative health impact, I think, than the than the sound.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look here quickly. Yes.
You
I gotta
go.
get in a taxi in 2
Thomas gotta
minutes.
fly back to Saigon.
James,
Thomas,
thank
it's
you
been
so
fun.
much for sitting down with us today, talking about this new project of yours.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about Blush Beach, you can go to blushbeach.com.
Yeah, or facebook.com/blushbeach, or follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, best of luck with this project.
Thanks. I
It's
can't
been-
wait to do podcast number 37 here at Blush Beach again in 5 months or 6 months or something.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
Really?
I'll come back at some point and definitely we can talk
I'll
again.
do a follow-up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye, Internet.
Bye-bye. Signing off.